They've been doing this for 5 years. They've been holding these summits that are designed to introduce us to technology, summits that are designed to emphasize the role of technology within our Black community, summits that say, as people of African descent, we have enough of our own who are in the know. We have enough of our own who understand technology. They, few as they are, have a responsibility to share their knowledge, reach out to those of us who are ignorant about technology, and especially now, the blockchain technology, something new, something that we all must understand. So I want to welcome all of you to this summit, but more importantly, I want to thank my brothers, the founders of this very important summit, through their organization, the Bill Murray and I Love Black People organization. Welcome all of you to the 5th anniversary summit of the blockchain technology. Now, I was having a conversation with my brother Mapondera. We are here together in Harare, and so we are having a good time. And I wanted to know, why is it that they are staying with it and they have chosen the blockchain summit as the title of their summit that we are having here today? And he was very quick to answer that question and explain to me that there's always a deficiency. We're always lagging behind as a people in catching on to what is really going on, particularly when it comes to technology. And as we continued with our conversation, I said, my brother, for me, I always try to make sure that if I'm talking about an issue, I don't want to get stuck with the leaves and the flowers, the branches of the problem. I want to go right down to the root of the problem. So my brother, yes, you look at me, I'm an old woman, and I know nothing about blockchain technology. Up until you guys started asking me to come and speak, it was just Greek to me. But of course, through the conversations, I know just a little bit, but I'm nowhere near where I need to be. And if you can imagine, if I am this ignorant about the blockchain technology, you can imagine many others. So I said, my brother, look at this stage, blockchain technology, the conversation has been going on for quite a while now. By now, we should have every child in kindergarten, in grade school, be able to talk about or even heard about blockchain technology. And he quickly said to me, Ambassador, that is why this meeting takes place. That's why he and his partner are committed to making sure that this blockchain summit is an annual event that continues to shed light on this technology and technology in general that our people must know. So as we were talking and I was trying to pencil down my conversation, I found myself zooming down to the root cause of why we are lagging behind when it comes to technology, to the root cause of this particular issue where we are left behind, starting with at home, the conversation that takes place at our dinner table, in our community, the conversation that takes place in our community centers, in our churches, in our schools, in our county, in our country, in our state, when in the case of the United States, in our country, and then in our region, and ultimately around the world. I'm talking about understanding ourselves from what's happening to me at home. Why is it that I'm not able to afford a laptop for my child? If I'm in the United States, I do have electricity, but why is it that I can't afford to buy that laptop so my child can have access to the information that they need, such that from school they continue to work? And if I'm in Africa, why is it that I don't have electricity so I can also be able to, let alone afford a laptop? So we started with those conversations to say, let's begin to understand the why is it that we are lagging behind in the advances in technology. And that sharpened my conversation to where I felt very strongly that maybe we should talk about this ailing tree of life. The tree of life that is life as we know it as people of African descent. As people of African descent, whether we are in Africa, whether we are in South America, whether we are in the Caribbean, whether we are in the United States or Europe, you go to Black communities, the issues are the same. So let's begin by saying, what is it that they have done to us that has led us to be so behind no matter how hard we try. And I found myself going back to when they first came to the continent of Africa. And by they, I mean the Europeans. You see, when they came to Africa, they were not white people. And before they came to Africa, we were not Black people. They came to Africa and found some of the most amazing people on earth. People who are totally indestructible. People who are so powerful, the origins of humanity. People who taught the world what it means to be human. People who taught the world and civilized the world. They found great civilizations, inventions that they themselves didn't have in Europe. So they got together and said, how do we conquer such a people? A people that have everything and anything they could ever need, climate they could ever have, living conditions they could never have in their own world. So they strategized and decided that where they should defeat us most was the mind. Because remember, they also realized, if we were to go to genetics 101, that as people of African descent, as Africans, our gene, when it comes to humanity, is dominant. Because life as we know it, it began in Africa. It is because of the Black man and the Black woman that with the rest of the humanity even exists. They were very clear about that fact. So then realizing that there's nothing they can do about the dominant gene, that is the African gene, because theirs is a recessive gene that can be diluted and eliminated. The only place they could defeat us was the mind. Because when it comes to destroying us, it is mission impossible. It simply cannot be done. The African gene, and you notice I'm trying to avoid Black because I'm going to a point. This gene cannot be destroyed. So they set out to destroy us where it matters the most, the mind. They set out to put out a system that makes us believe that everything to do with Europe is better and more desirable, and everything to do with Africa is bad and undesirable. It wasn't good enough just to say that. So they had to bring in some symbolism. So they took us to school. They taught us about the various colors, black, red, yellow, green. But they focused on two colors, black and white, and gave those two colors attributes. They told Black was horrible, it was dirty, it was filthy, it was undesirable. Shy away from anything Black. And they said white was pure and beautiful and desirable, and that's what you want to aspire to be, purity. So white was pure, and Black was bad, ugly, and dirty. And then they said, let's go to church. And they told us about a place called heaven and a place called hell. And they said, in heaven, you find beautiful beings called angels. They are wonderful. They do good things. They are caring and loving. And you want to grow up to be like them. And they said, oh, by the way, those angels are white. And also, while they may not look white, they're kind of pinkish. They said, never mind how we look. We are white, like the angels. Blatant lie, but we accepted it. We said, oh, okay. And then they added a caveat. They taught us about Jesus Christ. And they said Jesus Christ was also white, like them. Another lie. Because we all know that when Mary and Joseph were running away from King Herod, they were told to take Jesus Christ to Egypt. Why Egypt? Because in Egypt, he would blend with others who looked like him. Because if Jesus Christ was white, they would have sent him to Europe, where he would blend with others who looked like him. But he was definitely a dark-skinned man. So they said, go to Egypt and hide. So we know that's another lie. And then they turn around and say, oh, by the way, there's a place called hell. And in hell, there's a being called a devil that does horrible things. You definitely don't want to be associated with the devil. And by the way, you people, you're Black, just like the devil. You may not look Black, like the color Black we taught you in school, but never mind that. You're Black like the devil. And so it is. We said, okay, again. So it is, the white people are like the angels, like Jesus Christ. So when we go to church, we are worshiping Jesus Christ. We're worshiping the angels. And subliminally, by so doing, we are worshiping them. And we're denouncing the devil. And by denouncing the devil, we're denouncing ourselves. The seed of self-hate was sown. Centuries ago, my brothers and sisters, that lie remains today. Have you ever wondered, why is it that the colonizers left over 50 years ago, and yet we are still using their colonial textbooks? What is stopping the ministers of education in Africa from rewriting the textbooks, from rewriting the history and teaching our children the truth and nothing but the truth? As we speak today, we have thousands of our ancestors' body parts that are sitting in jars in European basements all over Europe. If you're colonized by the British, they are in the British basements. The Germans, the French, the Portuguese, you name it. Why is it that we are incapable of saying, listen, Britain, listen, Germany, listen, France, all colonizers? The remains of our ancestors must be brought back. We want them, and we want them now. We're giving you 2 weeks. If you don't bring the remains of our ancestors for proper burial, all your citizens, they have 2 weeks to get out. Let's see how quickly those remains will come back. As we speak, our ancestors are classified as trophies of conquest. So they cannot be returned, because you see, I went to Africa and I was in a war and I won. I got my head of a human being, and over here I went hunting and I killed a lion. I got my trophy. So here's the head of a lion over here, and here's the head of a human being. They're both equal. So you can have your citizens back. But the truth is, they don't want the burial of our ancestors, because then there will be a graveyard. There will be a monument. We'll be able to take our children to our heroes' acre, where we can tell them the story. What did this grandmother do? That she fought a vicious war, a war of resistance against the British, against the Germans, against the French. They don't want that history told. So those monuments will bring history back to life. That is the real reason. But what is more disturbing is our failure as Africans to come together as the continent, speak with one voice, and send one strong message once and for all. To say to Europe, we will not engage you anymore if these egregious wrongs are not corrected as a matter of agency. It all goes back to the mind. It all goes back to being defeated before the game even begins. Then they took it a step further. They came up with the Berlin Conference, chopped us up into the tiny little economies that cannot survive on their own. Again, we have failed to create that unity of purpose. We have failed to realize that as Togo, as Congo Brazzaville, as Eswatini, as tiny little countries as Tunisia, we cannot fight them. We cannot win. We are defeated before the game even begins. These are obvious issues that we are aware of, that we know we can never succeed. What is keeping us from coming together and creating that meaningful unity of purpose, so we can begin to address our issues from the core? Line number one, I am saying to you, my brothers and sisters, line number one must be denounced, and it must be denounced fully. Line number one must be understood by us as we speak to the image in the mirror. Ask yourself the question, am I colonized? Am I still suffering from the legacy of slavery and colonization? As I talk to young people, a lot of them will say, oh, no, I'm so glad I don't have that problem. Oh, yes, you do. If I may share a little story of my own niece, a nurse at a hospital. They're getting ready to have a meeting. She walks in the conference room and there's one seat left in the front row. She takes it. And just as she's sitting down, another white nurse, her colleague, walks in. Without thinking, she got up because she realized she took the last seat. And as she was walking away, she thought about me, her aunt. She go, oh my God, my aunt would kill me for doing this. She ran back and she grabbed that seat before that nurse could sit down. But she was so mad at herself. And after the conference, she called me. She said, Auntie, now I see what you mean. When you were telling me about colonization, I didn't understand it. I never thought I had that disease. And she said, after that, as I was realizing what I'd just done, I said to myself, if this was a Black nurse who had walked through that door, would I have gotten up to give up this? And the answer is no. What has been done to us, my brothers and sisters, is deep. The subliminal messages are everywhere. It's going to take a conscious effort from each and every one of us to constantly work around it. Talk to the image in the mirror. Check yourself out. When you go to that boardroom table as someone who works for the World Bank, as somebody who works for IMF, as somebody who is in the government, as you represent, ask yourself, am I coming to the table with the right frame of mind? Or am I coming to the table with a colonized mind? Because if you go to the negotiating table with a colonized mind, garbage in, garbage out. That is why singularly, we're unable to defend ourselves as a people. That is why singularly, we continue to do some of the dumbest, stupid things. Situations that we can stand up and push back and fight and defend our Africa. We're unable to do it because we're afraid of the white man. You put us in front of a white man, we're defeated, our knees start buckling in. That has got to change. They are no better than us. We must understand they have put themselves on a pedestal where they don't belong. They go on a high horse and we let them stay on that high horse. No, 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 no. They must come down from their high horse. And we need to also realize that we need to come out from where we put ourselves under the table. Somewhere in the middle is where we need to meet. And it is there in the middle that we can have serious conversations as equals. The question is, do you feel equal to those who don't look like you? Or do you feel inferior automatically? We must heal from what I call line number one. And once we deal with line number one, the rest of the systems that are keeping us down, such as what the World Bank is doing, the geofinancial systems, the geotrade systems, the multinationals that continue to live in Africa, they never left. They own and run Africa. They employ the majority of the Africans today. How do we get ourselves out of this? They continue to siphon billions of dollars out of Africa. 75% of the minerals traded at the London Stock Exchange are from Africa, and we don't own any of them. They're involved in illegal trade, illegal mining, trade of wildlife and exotic plants. I use DRC as an example. There will never be peace in DRC. The people who are benefiting from the illegal activities in the Congo, they will never want to see a stable DRC. And the same is true wherever you find them in Africa. You'll never see anywhere where there is a natural resource discovered in Africa. Just wait, pretty soon there's instability there. I like to use the example of Ghana when they discovered oil. The question was, when is the coup coming? Look at what happened in Mozambique as soon as they discovered natural gas. They know how to play the game, and we allow them to use us as instruments of our own self-destruction. How long are we going to continue to play this game and fall into their little traps? At what point are we going to understand the geopolitics and refuse to be used as instruments of our own self-destruction? The World Trade Organization, they give a blind eye to Switzerland. I travel all over Africa, Swiss coffee, Swiss chocolate. Where are those humongous chocolate cocoa fields and coffee fields in Switzerland? A lot of it are African products that are being relabeled. And the World Trade Organization is giving it a blind eye. And has done so for decades since what we call, quote unquote, independence. I'm saying this to say, my brothers and sisters, you are the smart ones. You are the educated ones. You have a responsibility to make sure that the young ones who come behind you, they understand the geopolitics and how it affects the child in Africa, in a village, and their inability to afford $7 to go to school a semester. Their inability to have electricity so they can read at night. The inability of a person of African descent in Colombia to suffer the same circumstances, just like those in Africa. The inability of a young child in Europe, in a Black community, in the United States, to afford a laptop, to afford a meal. That's what I'm talking about. When you understand the geopolitics, it's not by design that we're just destined to be poor in masses. The systems defeat us before the game even begins. And that is why I am so proud of my brothers for putting this conference together. The conference that's going to keep reminding us the importance of technology and the role it plays in our development, not only development in our communities, in our countries, but personal development. It is through understanding of these technologies that we can begin to also turn the corner. It is through understanding of these technologies that even as we go the process of self-healing, the process of understanding and healing the mind, and fighting these forces of colonization and slavery. I know there are many who will say, well, Ambassador, you keep talking about colonization. Well, those who say that, please, colonization is a system. They put it in place and they left. And now we are on automatic pilot of stupidity. We just continue to carry it forward. How do you undo poor little Eswatini going to the market to negotiate with China? You don't call that colonization? How do you say that is over? It's not over. You were set on a trajectory of defeat, plain and simple. So let's wake up, guys. I've heard so many of you smart ones. We can't keep blaming colonization. It is a system. Colonization is not a thing that you can say, it was here today and it's gone tomorrow. Oh, no. Understand the systems, because it is through this system that you smart people can begin to make a difference. So if you educated ones don't understand the systems, what chance do the young ones have? So yes, to Brother Mapondera, to Brother Skinner, and your entire board, I can't thank you enough for the work that you're doing in keeping that candle burning so our young people can understand the importance of technology in our daily lives. And as we engage the global world, it is technology that's going to lead us into the future. I thank you all for giving me this time, and I want to leave you with one message. In summary, think of the African tree of life, the issues above the ground and the issues below the ground. The issues above the ground is what they want us to focus on. The leaves, the flowers, the branches, the fruits, they come and go. I equate those to poor healthcare, poor education, poor infrastructure, leadership, corruption, all issues that you find in other parts of the world. But when it comes to Africa, they are highlighted and put on the tallest pedestal as if that is it. What we need to understand is that the issues below the ground are the issues that we need to deal with. The issues below the ground is what I have attempted to articulate, and that is the mind, which is the biggest one. The world financial policies and how many African countries, at a minimum, a third of their GDP goes towards loan repayment. Some go up to 60% of their GDP goes towards loan repayment. How is that country supposed to survive? And they make you want to concentrate on how you are spending the remaining 40%, but they don't want you to talk about the 60% that they took. Oh, no. Let's not talk about 40%, 60% of your lines that I just took. Let's just talk about why you are not able to take care of your family because you only have 40% of your GDP left. Let's talk about the World Trade Organization, how they're giving a blind eye, and they want to make sure that Africa continues to be the supplier of natural resources, and we turn around and create jobs for Europe, jobs for the East, and we are relegated back to being consumers once again. Let's talk about the multinationals and all the stealing and the looting out of Africa. Let's talk about the illegal activities that are going on in Africa, millions. Let's talk about the safe havens of all these multinationals that are not paying taxes. It's a lot. And then we go back to the brain drain out of Africa. We have a responsibility to repatriate those brains. Africa today, as we stand, not a single country has the ability to build an airport, has an ability to build a railway line. But collectively, we have that ability, but we're divided. So it is, we're constantly, as individual countries, we're looking to the east, we're looking to the west, and completely bypassing our children, because our children are not united. So let's understand the issues of the root, because when those issues of the root are addressed, the issues above the root can disappear. France taking over $500 billion out of Africa every year, 14 countries. Can you imagine? The watchdogs, corruption watchdog, they say 50 billion gets out of Africa every year from corruption. Well, let's double that. Let's say those who are stealing from Africa, let's double it. Let's triple it. Let's quadruple it. Steal some more, make it 200 billion. Guess what? That still leaves 300 billion from what's being taken by France. Are we even talking about it? No. So two thieves. One has 50 billion and the other one has 500 billion. We're putting all our energies talking about the thief with 50 billion. Not only do we not know about the thief with 500 billion, we're not even talking about it. And this is what I'm saying, my brothers and sisters. Let's step back. Let's really understand what is going on in Africa. Let's not be shown a shiny object and run after it. Let's not go after the leaves of this tree and complain about why these leaves, they die from one season after the other. We need to understand, why are these leaves dying? Why is this tree not giving us good fruits? But they want us to stop there. These fruits are not juicy. These fruits are wilted. The flowers don't give good aroma. There's a problem there. And we stop there, except your generation is going to fight and complain about the same things, and the next generation, and the next generation, and that's what we've been doing, because we haven't gone to the root. There is no reason why African countries should be charged exorbitant interest rates, because the rating agencies have chosen to give them frivolous, false evaluations to justify their abuse. Young people, men and women, working for those institutions, stand up, speak up, unite. Don't be afraid. We must refuse to remain under the table and being told to fight over which brother got more of the crumbs under the table. Let's unite. Let's understand that there is a 10-course meal taking place on the table. And that let's unite and not fight over crumbs. And let's demand to be on the table. In fact, we don't even need to demand. Let's just grab a seat and be on the table and get rid of those people. Remind them that they are in our house, having a 10-course meal on the table, and that we're the ones serving them that meal. And after we finish serving them the meal, we go under the table to go fight with my brother and sister about the crumbs under the table. That has got to come to an end. And for you to fight and defend what belongs to you, first you must understand that you're under the table and not on the table. And that's what this conference is all about. The question is, are your eyes open enough? Is your mind awoken enough? Do you really understand the issues of the root of this African tree of life that is ailing? I need you to take ownership. Stand up tall. Africa is counting on you. Africa is counting on its children to stand up and be the soldiers to defend and protect what belongs to us. Our ancestors did it. The only reason they failed is because they were fighting with bows and arrows and they had guns. Well, this is a different war, my children, my brothers and sisters. This is an economic war, and it is calling for the minds to wake up. It is a war of the mind. It is a war of understanding. These people know what they're doing to us, and it is your responsibility to stand up and defend your Africa. I know it's easy for us to end up caught up in the weeds. Oh, this leader, this, and that leader, this. But also remember, a leader is as good as the people behind them. And those people are you and I. Those people are you and I. And sometimes I think we forget the power that we have as we, the people. If we, the people, fail to unite, if we, the people, fail to understand what is really going on, we, the people, will continue to be used as instruments of our own self-destruction. Let's refuse. That era is gone. We don't have to love each other, my brothers and sisters. We don't have to care for each other. We don't have to be neighbors. But we have to realize at some point, when it comes to issues pertaining to our community, pertaining to our county, pertaining to our state, pertaining to our country, and ultimately our continent, we must stick together like super glue. Others have done it and they do it every day. Ask for the voices of the Chinese diaspora loud and clear, the Indians diaspora loud and clear, the Irish, the Jews, the Italians. All other groups of people can come together when it comes to their sheer survival. We have failed to do that as people of African descent. That has got to change. The time is now. Failure is not an option. If we don't create that meaningful unity of purpose for ourselves, we have a responsibility and an obligation to do it for our children and generations to come. The question is, as you walk the streets of Washington, D.C. as a person of African descent, as you walk the streets of London as a person of African descent, what frame of mind are you in? Are you a person of African descent who is there to defend and protect and speak truth to power? Because these people know that what they're doing to us is wrong. I've spoken to many of them. They said, oh, yes. I can give you simple examples. I'm in a restaurant in Africa, for that matter. I'm in front, and the Caucasian person comes behind me. My own child who looks like me would call them behind me and leave me. Yeah, the good ones will say, no, they came before me. But the majority, they enjoy white privilege. They'll gladly move and go ahead. A lot of them know. They know they come to Africa, they're treated like gods, and they just enjoy it. They know what is being done. They know what they're doing is wrong, but they're getting away with it because we are not standing up and saying, stop it, it is wrong, don't do it to me. That is all we are asking. Ours is a simple ask. As people of African descent, we are saying to the world, do unto us as you want done unto you. That's it. So ours is a simple ask. Ours is a simple fight. Let's unite. Let's create that unity of purpose. Mother Africa is counting on all of us to defend her. Thank you. Enjoy the conference. Again, another journey to the beginning of the healing that we need as a people. United we stand, divided we fall. Thank you.